Welcome to another special edition of the Crowns Way video newsletter. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, with managing partner to my right, Tony Rollo. And while this isn't necessarily going to be a race preview as we normally do, but we all know what weekend it is. I'm sure you guys can feel it in the air. It is the Oaks and Derby weekend coming up. We are very excited. Tony, you and I are going to be there. And if we're going to be there, we're definitely going to bet. So we're going to go through the Oaks and Derby. And then definitely we're going to have some best bets for the people if they either, are not reading the form or anything, having their own handicap opinions. Maybe we can give out some winners.
Yeah, it's probably the best weekend of the year for me. It's second best outside of Breeders' Cup, but it's for the casual horse racing fan, it's definitely our Super Bowl. So let's hit some bets.
Yeah, and they're obviously 150,000 people are going to be at Churchill over the next 2 days or next 2 days. We're recording this on Wednesday night. Kind of just want to be there. Obviously, you drive out tomorrow. I fly out tomorrow. So lots of fun things. Of course, guys, if you have any questions about any of our horses, which we're actually going to give a couple race previews here in a second, but you can DM us on X at Crownsway Racing on Twitter, or email Tony to my right, Anthony Rollo at crownswayracing.com. Tony, we had two races over the past weekend in both Shards and Second City Saint. One went okay, one didn't go so good. Tony, any updates for the partners on both of them?
Yeah, both horses came out of the race fine. We just got Shards back into Kentucky yesterday. I think after this weekend, after Derby, Kelsey and John and I will have a talk about what we want to do with him next. We're talking about, dropping him down to 40,000, or, the horse has done a lot for us at this point. Maybe it's just time to call it, as it doesn't seem like it's really what he wants to do anymore. So I know it's something we'll let this weekend play out with all the stuff Kelsey's got on her plate, and then sometime early next week, or by the next time we have a video newsletter, we'll have an idea of what's in store for Shards moving forward.
Yeah, and then Second City Saint ran up at Woodbine. She ran fine. She didn't necessarily run bad. You give me a lot of it after talking about that Owen Hardy horse who ended up going away, who I did not like at all, and of course runs off the screen. That's about as it goes, but I got all my bad luck out of the way then, so I'm going to give out winners here. But again, another kind of Second City, she kind of ran her race again. She runs really well and just comes up a little short.
Yeah, we may need to drop her in class a little bit, but obviously the best trip we've ever had going to Woodbine. As I said on the last trip, on the last show, it had been a house of horrors for us, and at least now we can say we've hit the board north of the border. But no, she came out good. The two, the logical favorite beater and the Owen Hardy second time starter, which always scares me. So besides that, she ran a pretty good third. She looked loaded at the top of the lane.
Yeah.
The 6 furlongs may be a step too far. I know Adam Beschizzo, when he got offered Ellis, said keep her as short as possible. He thought she was a 5.5 horse. We've experimented with some other things, but maybe we just got to go back to that straight 5 furlong turf dash is probably what suits her best.
Which, you know how much I love that race, Tony. So Nothing like another Crownsway horse that's going to run another flat 5 or 5.5. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Some horses are just more suited to that type of distance. And if we get her back at the flat 5 or 5.5, even, she still could run a really nice race for us. And again, restricted races are also on the horizon for her, or something along those lines. So you'll keep your eyes here to the Crownsway Racing YouTube channel, or just keep your eyes on your email for these video newsletters for upcoming races for her, and then updates on Shards. Tony, we're going to go right into the races here. We're going to talk about, of course, the Kentucky Oaks first. Then we will go into the Kentucky Derby and then give our plays for the full weekend, not only just Saturday, but also Friday included as well, if you choose. The Kentucky Oaks, Tony, everyone's seen the fields. I'm not going to go through it too much, but the fields are on the screen for you guys right now. It's a field of 14, but the number 8, Bottle of Rouge, or as the people on the Kentucky Derby Draw Show spelled it, Bottle of Rogue. That was a fantastic one by them. Mike Smith, unfortunate for him that his starter gets taken out, but Lovely Gray gets in for Kelsey Danner, which, of course, we're very excited about it. And to have Kelsey have another Kentucky Oaks starter, that's fantastic for her, Tony. Putting our picks up on the screen right now. You're actually interested in that Kelsey Danner horse in second. I'm going with the number 4, Counting Stars on top. Tony, though, you are going with Zany, a horse that I know someone else very close to myself on the podcast in Howard loves this horse on top on Friday. So he hasn't shut up about it throughout the entire week. He made Paul say because he talked about it so much that Howard thinks this is the second fastest female horse behind Ruffian ever created. So maybe that's a good thing for you, but you're going with Zany on top for Todd Pletcher, Rapoli, and Irad.
Yeah, after that Suncoast, I might have said that she might be the second fastest after Ruffian. Her Suncoast Stakes, which was her return to racing as a 3-year-old, was excellent. She was wildly green down the lane in that race. Still won by almost 3 lengths. And out of that race, the form was flattered as Life is Joy came back to win the Fairgrounds Oaks. Yeah, if you just want to pull down to the screen here, at this point, I thought she might have been the best 3-year-old male or female. That would be her in 6 right there. Now she's moved up to 4th on the outside. Life is Joy, who again came back to win the Fairgrounds Oaks, is the one in the middle, and then the horse in 3rd. I don't know that horse, but Zany just loops up as easy as you want here. Life is Joy tries to dig in with her and just has no shot. Just as it barely pulls the trigger and she goes, she gets really green. She's looking at the stretch or looking at the stands. Now she's moving in, and to do that kind of stuff, it kind of scares you, but beating such a good horse that easily of Life of Joy just shows me on her best day. Yeah, Lucy Life is Joy came back to easily win the Fairgrounds Oaks. Makes me think that this is a really special filly. The Ashland just wasn't for her as Percy's Bar got the easy trip up the rail and the short stretch. Zany's going to want every bit of that long stretch at Churchill, and should get a favorable pace set up with the amount of speed in the race.
Yeah, and I can show that too with the time form. I love DRF. If you guys don't use this, I would highly recommend it. Time form pulls up a pace projector. See the fast pace in front of him, headed by the number 1 Explorer, the number 6 My Miss Mo, and Dazzling Dame, who are most likely going to be your pace setters in here. Bella Ballerina has been very quick, and Brooklyn Blonde to the outside usually has to go as well. So lots of speed for her in this race. I would be very surprised if my horse is behind your horse going into the first turn based on that time form pace projector. I'll talk about Counting Stars in a second, but there's no doubt in my mind that she's talented. I just felt like, and they went really slow, but I felt like she was just really flat last time. And that's my one concern. But look, it's Pletcher, it's Irad, it's Rapoli. The only other concern I have is that she's going to be overbet for what she's kind of ran. But if you're playing it in in an Oaks Derby double or something, horizontal, you're going to get value no matter what, especially playing it with the Derby. So if you like this horse, you can parlay it with something in the Derby. Again, we'll talk about our bets here in a second. So I completely respect it, although I'm going a different way. I'm going with Counting Stars, who is coming out of the Oaklawn route and winning last time in the fantasy by 5.5 lengths. Obviously, they haven't come back to win yet. Search Party's also in this race for Mark Cassidy and Christian Torres, but I'm just going to pull up what this last replay for fantasy in the fantasy as well. The thing that I like most about her, Tony, is not only can she win with an easy trip like this, sitting on the lead, she's also shown in the past that she has the closing kick to sit farther back, which with the fast pace in front of us, that's my feeling on how she's going to win this race. But you go back to the last race, the Martha Washington, I believe, at Oaklawn, she came from 7th and just finished 3/4 behind Explora, who's going to be one of the main favorites in this race as well, who she completely got the jump on her that day, but she really strides out. You can see even when she's completely by herself, she doesn't get it. She's completely professional, keeps the task, and I really like this daughter. And Mark Cassidy, they all have trainer speak. They all say their horse is going to win or whatever, but Mark's kind of a guy that gives it to you straight a lot. And he said, if you're going to bet on me to win one race this weekend, bet on me in the Oaks, is what he said in a DRF interview. So I really like her. You could see in the Honeybee, excuse me, the Martha Washington was the race where I don't know what the heck happened that day, but she came back in the Honeybee. What again was 3/4 behind Explorer, then came back to do that in the Fantasy. She just continues. If you completely cross out that Martha Washington, she just continues to get better and better this year. And with that extra eighth of a mile, I mentioned the reach and the close can kick that she can have. I really do like Counting Stars, and I'm going to use her pretty heavily in a lot of my bets on Friday. Tony, Lovely Gray is a horse that you mentioned for Kelsey Danner, who got into this race because of the defection of Bottle of Rouge. Dylan Davis hops aboard this horse, which is an interesting one. Obviously, never been on, but was second in the Bourbon Oaks to Lorelei Lee, who did not end up running in this field. She's running in a turf race, I believe. The Edgewood. Thank you. That is, I couldn't remember the Phillies turf race off the top of my head, but she's been training really well in the mornings, and there's a lot of dirt pedigree in there as well. You have Vacoma on the top end, so people are kind of crossing her out completely. She's closed into slow paces. What can she close in when the pace is hot?
Yeah, that I thought that Bourbonnette Oaks was great. She was wide and running into a slow pace. So probably a little lucky not to win that race, as she just got beat. Looked like she was going to nail Lorelei Lee and just wasn't able to get there. She's going to get a fast pace setup in here. I'm not worried about the wide draw, as she'll probably just drop over. I would be worried about the kickback, as she's only run on dirt once, and that was a sloppy track, so really not the same kind of conditions. So we'll see how she deals with the kickbacks. If you do like her, I would use her in an Oaks Derby double or something else. The Barstool owner, Dave Portnoy, had bought this horse before the Bourbonnette Oaks, and a lot of respect to him for keeping the horse with Kelsey. But due to his big following, this horse is going to take a lot of money, and she's not going to be anywhere near that 30-1 morning line. She's probably going to be more in the 6-7-1 range, I would think. So that's not very good value on the straight win end. But if you like an Oaks Derby double, which I'll be giving out later, that is one of my best bets, that would definitely be something to use her with.
Yeah, and that's the money in the Oaks Derby double. She's not going to take that type of money in that.
No.
I don't think many casual players are going to be playing the Oaks Derby double. And if she's 7-1, Tony, I wouldn't touch her with a 50-foot pole, let alone at least on the win end at 7-1. But again, Oaks Derby double is a completely different scenario. The horse that I like in second is always a runner for Chad Brown and Jose Ortiz coming out of the Gazelle. She's 10-1. I think she's going to go more off like 8-1. That mile and eighth, she kind of ran like Zany in her comeback race to 3-year-old. She was all over the place, but the talent is there, man. I mean, she flew on the turn coming for home. You can argue she really didn't beat much in the Gazelle, but this is a big ask for a filly in her third. Obviously, the Gazelle was a big ask for her second lifetime start. Coming out of Tampa, she improved 30 buyer points. She proved that she deserves to be in this field. And Dylan Davis, Jose Ortiz takes this mount from Dylan Davis. So I just think it's a lot of systems go with always a runner. I completely understand why you might be against her. Two starts in, it might be just be a tough ask, but I think the talent is there. And if she can stay professional, she's got a chance at a nice number. Last horse we'll talk about, Tony, in the Oaks, and then we'll move on to the Derby, is Percy's Bar, who you and I both have in third. You mentioned that she got a really, a very easy trip in that race last time out, but I'll show this replay and then we'll move on when you're done talking about her. I didn't, like I said, I mentioned that I don't like Zany, and I just thought she was flat. Percy Bar flew up the rail and closed very well. Like, there's no denying that she ran a bang-up race here, albeit with a rail skimming ride.
Yeah, no, she really kind of checks all the boxes. Every race in her career has been good. She does really like Keeneland, and obviously is going to get a nice trip up the rail here. So I just felt like Zany had everything against her that day, especially with the short stretch. And Zany takes a little bit of time to get going. But, yeah, you see Percy's Bar just sneaking right up the rail here. And from here, the race is over. Zany's really going to try to dig in and really doesn't even come close to catching her. Zany's still being a little bit green down the rail here, or down the stretch here. But Percy's Bar starts to extend here. And then you see as kind of they get down the stretch, Zany finds her better kick and starts closing into the gap a little bit. which is why I like her to come run in the last 16th. But Percy's Bar checks all the boxes. She's been good for a long time, and it's kind of hard not to respect her in here, especially if I like Zany. So that's why I found her in third.
And you can see there goes Zany, talking
Yeah.
about that last mile, that last 16th of a mile. She might have that exact thing. She's still a little green, but I think the talent again is there. I like Percy's Bar at least a little bit, and at a decent price, a better price than Zany. When she didn't beat her on the square last time. I thought Luana Machado just had a really nice ride. I just think she's probably just as good as her, and if she's going to be double the price, I want to use her more in the exotics than I do Zany. But I'm going Counting Stars, always number 4 Counting Stars, number 9 Always a Runner, number 11 Percy's Bar, and then I have the number 1 Explorer and fourth. I think I've always been a fan of hers. I think she's really talented. I just need her to show it outside. Well, I guess she ran well in Oaklawn, but I want to see it at Churchill in the mornings. Flavian Pratt does hop aboard, though, so I will be using her a little bit. Tony's going to number 2, Zany, the number 15, Lovely Gray, and the number 11, Percy's Bar in this year's running of the Kentucky Oaks. Tony, moving on to the Derby, and this is where, it's the Derby. It's a fantastic race every single year, but unlike these last couple of years, there's really no standout horses. I'd say, and this was kind of brought up on our podcast that we do every single week over on the HHH Racing podcast on YouTube, but there's probably a pool of 6 to maybe 8 horses, probably closer to 6 horses that realistically have a chance to win this race this year.
Yeah, I think it's one of those years where there's no Justify, there's no American Pharaoh, and that kind of leads to just a lot of different options that can jump up. And I have a really hard time with this race. I have 5 horses written down. None of them would surprise me.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I feel, or I felt. However, I actually do have a very strong opinion in this race, and I will talk about it here in a second. But Tony, I want to talk to you first because you can see our picks on the screen right now. You're going with the number 20, the horse not all the way to the outside anymore, actually, second from the outside. If people did not hear, Silent Tactic is out of this race with a bruised hoof. Therefore, the number 21, Great White, the 17.2 hands horse, gets into this year's Kentucky Derby. So there will be a 21, but second, all the way from the outside, 20-1 morning line, Gaffleone, Brad Cox, and another horse coming from Turfway, number 20, Full Effort.
Yeah, this is another horse that's never run on dirt, similar to Lovely Gray. Lovely Gray had debuted on slop, where this horse has never run on dirt, but has been training really well at Churchill. And I was at that Jeff Ruby Stakes, and he ran a really nice race to beat a horse I think a lot of in stark contrast in that field. And yeah, I think this horse is getting good at the right time. And I expect if he can get a clean trip, him to come running. Tyler Gaffleone is really starting to come back after an injury. Yeah. He's very hot right now. So I think this horse is definitely worth a play, especially at that price.
And you can see I actually have the horse in fourth. I like this horse a lot. And not only that, when we did our Kentucky Derby preview show, there was 5 of the 7 of us that had this horse somewhere in the mix. So a lot of buzz for this horse. I think he might go off maybe a little bit under that 20-1 number, but still will get a very nice price. Mm-hmm. Question is the dirt. Can he handle the dirt and all the kickback and everything else? Because he's going to be something like 18th. Like he's going to be far back, and he's going to have to make one huge run. My only question is, will it be enough coming down the lane, especially with horses like Commandment, Chief Wallabee, a lot of horses that are going to be in front of him? That's my only concern. Is I don't know if he's got the kick to try and catch horses like that, but I think he's well and truly, if you're playing exactas, trifectas, superfectas even in this race, I think he's a must use underneath, if not on the win end, if that's the way you feel like Tony does. I have had this opinion for probably ever since February. I love Commandment in this race, and I've sang the praises. If you people are followers of the HHH Racing podcast, you probably are sick and tired of me talking about this horse, but because that's all I do really is talk about him. I just love how he runs, and if there's one horse in this entire field that I feel like I know will only get better with a mile and a quarter, it is him. It is Commandment. The other thing that I love about him not only is his closing kick, but in the Fountain of Youth, he had to sit in behind horses on the turn. There's this whole talk about who got the better trip, him or Chief Wallabee, because Commandment ran up the rail. I really don't think their trips were that much. They're very different. I don't think one was necessarily better than the other. Wallabee was completely in the clear. He had to go a little bit wide, but down the stretch, Commandment had to sit in behind horses, take kickback the whole way, and shoot up the rail. And for a big horse like he is, it takes a lot for a horse like that to be, and a lot of talent to shoot up the rail like that and have the ability to wait and beat him on the square, I think, that day. Then came back in the Florida Derby and he did something completely different. He did exactly what Chief Wallabee did in that other race. He sat in behind, he swung all the way four wide and barreled down the stretch. They went pretty slow that day for Gulfstream. They went almost 49 seconds and 113 and 137.1 to the mile. And the Puma got the jump on him. And granted, it was
no excuse for the Puma not to win that race.
And I agree with you. That's why I'm saying that the fact that Commandment still ran that horse down at a mile and an eighth, and people are picking him over Commandment to win at a mile and a quarter. I know it was a head bob in that race, but to me, there's just no question who's the best horse that's going, at least proven from what they've proven in the past. There's one horse that gets the mile and a quarter. It is him. I'm basically only using this horse in the Derby. I love that horse that much to where, because for me, it's either him or it's like six others. And when I don't want to 6 times the tickets I'm playing, if I have my strong opinion, I'm going to use it, keep my tickets cheap. And if he wins, we're going to Sizzler is what this is what it is. So I'm super excited to bet him on Saturday. Not only that, bias aside, I do have a future bet on him as well from after he won the Mucho Macho Man. I believe it was pool 2 or pool 3. Whatever one was in February this year, I bet him. So I am alive to that as well. I really think he has a big chance on Saturday. Tony, you have him in second, but you also have the other Brad Cox in this race too. The Further Ado. This is the one horse that I don't have anywhere out of the top horses I think that can win the race. I just don't know who he beat in the Bluegrass, and that's kind of the same thing for a lot of things. And he got beat on the square by the Puma in the Tampa Bay Derby. And if I don't like the Puma, I'm not going to like him. But off that last number, I completely understand why people will go to him.
Yeah, I think if there's someone that's a superstar in this group, I think it's him. He's shown brilliance a couple times. Now, both of those times were at Keeneland, which is a little bit of a quirky place. So some people look at this horse and say he's just a Keeneland horse. But he came back to win the Kentucky Jockey Club and even bouncing maybe in that effort. I think the Tampa Bay Derby was a big step forward, as Tampa is a deep, tiring racetrack, and first off the layoff. So I'll give him an excuse for getting beat by the Puma in there. And the third place horse in there, Canaletto, is who I thought was the best of the group.
Yeah.
The best of the 3 group anyway. So I think that Tampa Bay Derby was very solid. And I think the Pumas had got the jump on them from activity. The Puma's been very active up until this point, and Further Ado was off the layoff. Then came back in the Bluegrass and was brilliant. I completely agree with you. He didn't beat anything in the Bluegrass, but did it in an impressive way and basically was racing the clock, not the other horses in there. And if he shows up with that Bluegrass effort in here, they're all running for second.
And that's exactly the way I'm thinking too. Just, I don't believe in the bounce theory that a lot of people like, he ran the 106. He's going to bounce back to a 96 or whatever the mean is for him. And that's nowhere near good enough. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I just don't like him being close. I think he's the most likely horse to have the lead at the top of the stretch when Larry Comas is talking and being like, and they're in the stretch and Further Ado takes the lead, something like that. I just don't know if he's necessarily going to be as good at a mile and a quarter, and being close to that fast pace with horses like Wallabee, like Commandment coming down the stretch. even Full Effort, Renegade, a horse that we haven't talked about. I am much more interested in those horses because I think that last move is going to be the winning one. However, again, I don't fault anyone for taking this horse because, again, if he runs to that bluegrass number, like Tony said, everyone's basically running for second unless someone greatly improves in this race. Renegade is the one horse I'll talk about, and then we've already basically talked about Wallabee, and then we'll move on to our best bets, Tony. Again, there's nothing too much to say about him. His 2 races since coming back as a 3-year-old have been basically fantastic. I mean, the Sam F. Davis, where on a Tampa track that's normally very hard to close on, he blew by all those horses. Granted, there's not many in that race that have come back to run. Puma was in there, who then came back to win after that. Ocelli is one of the also eligibles. Other than that, no one's in this race by any means from the Sam F. Davis, but the Arkansas Derby, once he got outside in that race, he absolutely murdered that field. I mean, he blew by them. I think he's got the best closing kick out of anyone. Like, he's almost like push button. Like, Commandment takes a little bit to get going, but once the train's going, it's hard to get off the tracks. But Renegade's got a very turf turn of foot, is what I said on the show, where he can kind of get out and go. That's a super good thing to have in the Kentucky Derby. The one just hurts him completely, in my opinion. And if he has to take a lot of kickback, which he has no problem with in the past, but then he has to swing out, and if Commandment or other horses already have the momentum to the outside, that's, I think, going to be the hindrance. If he runs, second, third, fourth when closing, maybe goes by them at the mile and a quarter, after the wire, I just think the one post is going to hinder him a little bit too much in horses to the outside, such as Commandment, Wallabee, and others, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think he's going to be going into the first turn?
He's probably going to have to drop back pretty far ways. That's my only problem.
That's what scares me about him, is when everyone's trying to save ground, I think Irad's either going to be forced to try to hold position and sit a little closer than he wants to, or he's going to be all the way back in 18th, 19th, 20th.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what scared me about him. But no, obviously the talent is there. The distance is no problem. And, we'll see what happens with Rapoli. He's had he's had the Derby favorite twice now, and they both got scratched beforehand. So hopefully this horse makes the race. But,
and that's the thing, is I don't know if this is true or people are just trying to be, I've heard he's had rumblings of a foot issue. I don't know if that's the case, truly, but I have heard that he has had a little bit. It's no problem. Golden Temple has also had some type of foot issue as well, but Sharita Bowe's like, it's nothing. He's working fine, perfectly fine, and he'll be good for the race. But I don't know. I get it, Tony.
Sometimes a lot of that is all smoke. I remember I was reading the book on Secretariat, and Jimmy the Greek was coming out and saying that they were icing Secretariat's knees every day leading into the Derby, and the horse was lame, and clearly that was wrong.
Say that worked very well.
Fly around the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well have grown wings on that horse back in 73. In the Kentucky Derby, I'm going Commandment, the number 6 Commandment, number 1 Renegade, number 12 Chief Wallabee, number 20 Full Effort. Tony's going number 20 Full Effort, number 6 Commandment, number 18 Further Ado, and number 12 Chief Wallabee. Good luck, guys, to however you guys play this year's the 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby. Tony, best bets, and then we will end the show for the people. We graciously appreciate everyone watching so far. Again, if you have any questions at all, I'll talk about it at the end, but you can email Tony or DM us on Twitter. Tony, do your best bets, my friend. 1 win bet, a horse that you're looking to play, and then an Oaks Derby double that we'll give out. I'll read it to people. So if they're listening, race number 9, a win on the number 4 Stark Contrast on Saturday. This is the American Turf, a mile 16 for the 3-year-olds. This is the horse that lost to Full Effort in the Jeff Ruby. I like this horse a lot that day, and I like this horse as well on Saturday. And the Oaks Derby double, a $10 double, singling the number 2 Zany in the Oaks and going 6, 7, 12, 18, 20. That's a $50 bet for a $10 base bet. For, again, Zany with 6, 7, 12, 18, 20. and then a backup bet in case Lovely Gray does light up the tote board in the Oaks.
I gotta have
$2.
he wins.
You got if Kelsey wins, yeah, you better have something, that's for sure. $2 double, 15 over the same 5 horses, 6, 7, 12, 18, 20 in the Derby, and that's a $10 bet. So $60 total on the Oaks Derby double, and a sprinkled win on stark contrast in the American Turf.
Yeah, exactly. The only horse in there that I didn't point out in the Derby was Dan and Bourbon. That is the 7. So I want to use him as well in the Derby. I think the Japanese have been bringing better and better horses over every year, and this horse looks like a good one. I don't think he's as good as Forever Young was a few years ago, but I don't think this field is as good as a lot of other Derby fields. So if this horse takes to American racing, has early speed, which I think is a good thing for this Derby, because I don't think there's a lot of it as much as there usually is. So if this pace does end up slow, I think this horse is right in the ball game too. And then obviously, if I like Fulleffort in the Derby, you have to like stark contrast in the American Turf. I picked stark contrast to beat Fulleffort that day in that Jeff Ruby. So obviously, I'm going to be playing a big bet on stark contrast. I would also like to point out, if you want to know, our reigning NHC 6th place finisher and 2025 champion Dan Piazza likes, what was the horse in the Oaks? Another Runner, or the Chad? He likes the
Always a Runner.
Always a Runner in the Oaks, and Emerging Market in the Derby. He likes Chad Brown in both spots. So thought I'd throw that in there so everyone can say, why are we listening to Tony and Kyle when we have Dan in the group?
That's probably very true, honestly. But a lot of people like Emerging Market. I'm a little bit not sour on him, but a little bit less on him than a lot of other people. But Emerging Market, another one that is the number 15, I believe, in the Derby. Yeah, number 15, Emerging Market. Another horse, exactly like Always a Runner, running in the Kentucky Oaks / Derby in his 3rd career start. So, Tony, good luck with your best bets, and good luck if you're tailing Tony. If you're tailing me, my best bet of the entire day on Saturday is in race number 7. It is the number 3 Portfolio Duration. He's 4-1 on the she's 4-1 on the morning line. This will be second off the layoff for Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. This is a big step up in competition. This is going to be her first stakes race, but second time's out at 4 years old. She's really that last race at Tampa where Chad brings the best of his horses in the winter. It was super, super professional. Just the way she was running, she looks like another horse that can just be another monster for Chad Brown, i.e. the last 10 years of turf champions. I'm sure a lot of them are Chad Brown. I really, really like Portfolio Duration in that spot. However, I'll definitely be playing a little bit on stark contrast because I do like that horse as well. My Oaks Derby double for you guys. Nice and simple, nice and cheap, and you can play these denominations however you want. I have a $15 one going 4, 9, 11 in the Oaks. That's Counting Stars, Always a Runner, who's Dan's top pick as well, and the 11 Percy's Bar. My main thing is I'm going to try and beat Zany. I'm going to try and beat the number 5 Meaning from the West Coast, who will be a horse that takes a lot of money as well, who we did end up talking about when we went through it. And it's all the commandment, guys. I told you, I'm only using him in the Kentucky Derby. I feel that confident with him that he's going to run a big race. That is a $45 ticket, $15 again, 4, 9, 11 in the Oaks, singled to the number 6 commandment in the Derby. And I'm going to press up as well. If my top picks win, I want to have a little bit something extra on my top pick. So I'm going Counting Stars, the number 4 with 6 for another $15. That way, if it comes 4-6, my 2 top picks, I will have it for double what I have my main bet. So the $30 instead of the 15. Tony, it's going to be a fantastic day on both Friday and Saturday. You and I, again, are going to both be there. I'm sure we'll have plenty of fun things to talk about and hopefully some winning bets to share, but definitely some mint juleps and a couple other things. But for any partners that are going out or going to parties, everyone stay safe and keep an eye out for a couple newsletters down the line, Tony, of more around the barns, but also talking about the upcoming decision on what Shards is to do.
Okay.
So to everyone out there, again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can DM us or I guess follow us just on X at Crownsway Racing. Or if you still want to get into Select C, which is the Street Sense filly, or you want to the claiming group is still open, Tony? for a little bit
until we claim something. We'll try to claim again tomorrow. We've lost a couple shakes here and there, but yeah, as of right now, it is still open.
Okay, so if you get this, try and get in. If you're still interested, Anthony Rollo at crownswayracing.com. Get on that if you guys are interested. But again, everyone stay safe if you're going to anywhere for the Derby. Win some tickets, and we'll reconvene here to hopefully a couple claimed horses in the next version of the Crownsway video newsletter. For my co-host and managing partner of Crownsway Racing, Tony Rollo, I've been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in the April 29th edition of the Crownsway video newsletter, handicapping the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. Good luck this weekend, everyone, and we will see you again real soon.